So I'm doing keys to what some might say as the kingdom of heaven. I suggest if you're in the contract of the Torah that you look towards Exodus 3:14. Let me also explain this to you in more detail. Some of these are going to be considered AI. Some of these shame you don't even know about. And let me go ahead and show you some more shame. But I think that most people would agree that this name, well, shame isn't the proper term, and that shame, and that shame, and that shame are the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Now, let me just go ahead and add some more stuff. So, maybe somebody, and this actually did happen, somebody decided to make a bunch of different stuff. Like, say you had a child, like you had a little girl, and maybe you named your little girl Yeva, and you wanted to remember your precious girl, and you wanted that laddie to grow up to be something. And say you had all these other ones, and they all had certain characters that they built over their lifetime, and rules that they all made up, and contracts that they made up, and they all agreed to their own way. So maybe you had someone called Yehovah, and then maybe you had somebody called Yehovah, or Yehovah, or Yahweh, or Yehovah, or Yohovah, or Yehovah, or Yehovo, or Yehovah, or Yehovah. And say you had a bunch of children that you named this stuff, and over the generations, people who would do certain prayers would be praying to the certain children that all had certain agreements. Now, let's just say this. Now, hear me on this. If one of these children was connected to another child, and that child was connected to another child, and then as like a perfect example would be saying Yahweh is connected to Yahweh. That would be a perfect example. So Yahweh being connected to Yahweh would be observant that that was his Avinu. And so he'd have to do what his Avinu says if he agrees to those terms and conditions. The same thing with Yahweh. If Yahweh had a father and his father was named per se on, like hold on, or any, or many, then that would be a shame that some people might agree to, that's the shame of the father of Yahweh. Yahweh, it was actually these are all descendants of On. So On was like the ancestor before all the shame. And there was an Ani, and there was an I, and somebody named their kid Ya, and they named their kid Yi. So when you're talking in speeches, you always have to distinguish in your speech that you're not talking about a I as in someone saying, oh, well, God will blah, 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 blah. Or it's like saying that with I. You have to distinguish that you're talking about yourself. So all these names get built, or shame get built. And the shame sometimes are used in a contract to control you. And in a way to fix people and also to castrate them and stuff like that. Just like what you saw and what Confucius was connected with and he talked about was, and you see this in like the Jade Emperor, where there were certain emperors and you would get into his court if you castrated your child from a young age. However, it wasn't every single person doing that. It's more in line, you got to give people a chance. So I don't know if some people would consider these as keys, because I mean there's one hell of a list of keys. And then you got these. So I think I've got you the keys to the kingdom there.